Hello there and welcome to Black Jackal Gaming. We're going to take a look at this Centurion Devastator squad. This is one of the firstborn heavy weapon support units. It's got a really good toughness profile, so it should stay around for quite a while. It's got a nice ability to reroll hit rolls, but it is very slow moving and it can't really ride in transports apart from land raiders. There's no leaders to join them, so it's difficult to give them buffs, but there are plenty of keywords on their weapons to buff them up a little bit. But they are paying the twin link tax that a lot of Space Marine heavy support units are paying, and they're super expensive for what they actually do. The datasheet comes in at 175 points for 3 models or 350 for 6, so it's quite expensive. They come with 4-inch movement, toughness 7, 2-up save, 4 wounds, leadership 6, and objective control 2, which is quite nice, but they are quite a big model, so they should be able to dominate some space on the battlefield. For the range profile, they come with a ballistic skill 3, and they start off with Centurion bolters, which are rapid fire 3 and twin linked, so you get that reroll to the wound roll. They're 24 inches, 3 attacks, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage. You can swap this out for a Centurion missile launcher, which has the blast keyword. This is a 36-inch range, D3 shots, strength 9, minus 2 AP, and D3 damage, so quite a nice profile there to swap in for. And then for your main weapon, you come a standard with the grav cannon. This is the anti-vehicle 2+ keyword, so always wounds vehicles on a 2+. 24-inch range, 3 shots, strength 6, which when you're going to be targeting vehicles with it is pretty much pointless. So this is more of your targeting vehicles. It's nice having that slightly higher strength than you would think otherwise, with minus 1 AP and 3 damage. You can swap this out either for a heavy bolter, which comes with sustained hits 1 and the twin link keyword. It's 36 range, 3 shots, strength 5, minus 1 AP, 2 damage, so I don't really know why you'd ever choose that over the grav cannon. And then you've got the twin linked las cannon, which has the twin linked keyword. This is 48-inch range, 1 attack, strength 12, minus 3 AP, D6 plus 1 damage. So your standard loadout really should be looking at the missile launcher and either pairing that with the grav cannon or the twin las cannon, and this is just to give you that extra stopping power for your higher strength, as well as your anti-vehicle and the high damage for the las cannon. If you're going to go for the bolters and the heavy bolter, you're then paying a massive premium for what is essentially a slightly tougher and immobile gravis intercessor. The melee profile is slightly underwhelming, as they've essentially got power fists, but they've done a bit dirty with the weapon skill 4. I think for what they're bringing to the table and the price point, giving them a weapon skill 3 wouldn't be out of this world, and people wouldn't have blinked at thinking it was too strong. So they come with the Centurion fists. There's just 3 attacks, strength 5, minus 1 AP, 2 damage. So pretty average there. For their ability, we have the Decimator protocols. This allows you to reroll hit rolls of 1 for any of your ranged attacks, and if your enemy you're targeting is within range of an objective marker, you get to reroll the full hit value. Since you do just have a handful of shots, especially if you're going for the missile launch and the las cannon, having the ability to reroll hits is really beneficial, especially if you're targeting something that you don't want to be your oaths of moment target. So what buffs and combos can you give to these guys? They are slightly lacking because no leaders can join them, and when we're in an edition where it's all about leaders joining units and giving them buffs, it means these guys are left behind a little bit. They're also lacking a couple of keywords. They don't have the smoke keyword or grenade, so they can't use some really key core stratagems. And because they're not classified as a vehicle, I mean, you could maybe bump them into it. They're missing out on certain stratagems as well, and buffs from things like Tech Marines, which would make them a little bit more playable than they are in their current guise. There's only 1 transport they can ride in, and that's a land raider, but because each spot takes up 3 spots, so the Centurion, generally you got 12 spots in the land raider. If you're taking 3, that's taking up 9 spots, so really you've then only got space for 3 individual models, either in a small unit that only takes up 1 spot apiece, or maybe a supporting character. Now there is another land raider variant that goes up to 16 spaces, so then you can include a 5-man unit with a supporting character. Potentially you might be looking at a Devastator squad or something along those lines to jump out and give additional firepower, as the Land Raider can move, you can get out of afterwards. You can't charge, but you can still shoot, so you can have a bit of early alpha strike if you give them the right support that they need. There's a couple of detachments where you can get some play out of them, even though they are a tad expensive. So you've got the Anvil Siege Force. They'll gain the heavy keyword, so they get +1 to hit when stationary. And because these guys are so slow moving 4 inches, there's not going to be many opportunities for you to really move them in the game anyway. So you're going to really have to have some key deployment with these guys so they can remain stationary. And that +1 to hit is going to make them very efficient with their +1. The reroll to hits of 1 into units. So if you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s for las cannon, you're going to get a lot of efficiency out of that, as long as you don't reroll the 1 into a 1. There's then a stratagem you can use called Battle Drill Recall. This is a really good stratagem. It gives them sustained hits, and if they remain stationary, then it critical hits on a 5. So you might not take this on the las cannon because it wouldn't be that efficient, but on the grav cannon with its 3 shots, you're then more likely to be getting the sustained hits off, which would be very nice when you got the anti-vehicle 2+. You've then got the Vanguard Spearhead. So outside of 12 inches, which these guys are going to be often because they can't move that fast, you're going to be -1 to hit, and you're going to gain the benefit of cover, so you can reduce income and AP by 1. And then there's a stratagem called Strike from Shadows. If you're outside of 12 inches, which you likely are going to be, you can improve the ballistic skill by 1 and the AP by 1. So you're now again going to be hitting on 2s, re-rolling those 1s. And when you get in your -2 on your grav cannon, your -3 on your, your -4 on your las cannon, it's really going to start punching through armor quite efficiently. And if you do target a unit and you destroy a model, say for example you targeted some cataphractii breaches, you're very likely to kill a model with these guys if you've taken the missile launcher and the las cannon or the grav cannon, and then you can force them to take a battle shock test, which if they fail, they then can't use stratagems on them to buff them. Finally, we have the Ironstorm Spearhead. You get to reroll a hit, wound or damage roll each phase, so the hit roll might not be that great, but if you aren't getting the full reroll off and there is a reduction to your ballistic skill, the reroll could be quite handy. You've got a reroll for the wound built in anyway, so that's not useful, but the damage roll, if you run in the las cannons, that d6 +1, you're generally going to roll a 1 on that, so just have that ability to roll that to make it a little bit more efficient, where you are going to be averaging more 4 or 5 damage rather than a 2 to 3. And then there's a stratagem called Mercy is Weakness, which you'll then get sustained hits 1. So all in all, these guys are way overcosted. They have taken a points reduction because in the Space Marine Codex it come out at 200 points for 3. They do need a bit of a buff. If they're not going to drop down in points, then they do really need that weapon skill 3. That will only give them a minor bump up. But the Twin Linked is really hurting them. If they looked at removing the Twin Linked, or maybe going around that rule a little bit, so they did get the 2 las cannon shots, or it'd make the heavy bolters a little bit more takeable if they were the 6 shots rather than the 3. You're just paying a massive premium if you take the bolters and the storm bolters for something that's not going to have much of a damage output and just be a little bit durable. It's not really worth the points at the moment. And if they do start lowering the points, to make these guys worth it, you are going to be looking more the 125 to 30 point range, really. And then they might still just be okay because there's just limited ways to buff them. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any comments, then pop them below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, then please hit the like button, as it greatly helps the channel. Hit the subscribe button to see any future Warhammer content. Take it easy, and see you next time for more grim darkness from the 41st millennium.